Every evening after office workers hurried home, Michael Brooks unlocked the service closet and began another janitor shift. Armed with a mop, broom, and quiet determination, he cleaned empty offices while wondering how successful people built wealth. Unknown to everyone, tonight marked the beginning of his extraordinary financial journey ahead. Michael was 28 years old and earned just enough to pay rent, groceries, and monthly bills. He lived in a modest apartment, drove an aging pickup truck, and rarely spent money on unnecessary luxuries. Although life seemed ordinary, he refused to believe his future was permanently limited by circumstance alone. Each night, Michael emptied trash bins inside executive offices, decorated with expensive artwork, polished furniture, and breathtaking city views. Instead of feeling jealous, he quietly observed how these leaders worked, communicated, and managed their businesses. He believed success always left clues for anyone willing to notice them carefully every single day. One evening, Michael discovered a business magazine left behind in a conference room. An article described investors building wealth through rental properties rather than relying solely on salaries. During his break, he carefully read every page, fascinated by the possibility that ordinary people could achieve extraordinary financial independence through patience and discipline. After finishing his shift before sunrise, Michael visited the local public library instead of heading straight home. He borrowed books about personal finance, budgeting, real estate investing, and long-term wealth creation. Each chapter expanded his perspective, replacing excuses with practical strategies. He could begin applying immediately despite limited income and experience. Michael purchased a simple notebook and wrote his first financial goal across the opening page: buy one rental property. Beneath the goal, he created monthly savings targets, tracked every dollar earned, and listed books he planned to read. The notebook quickly became his personal blueprint for building lasting wealth patiently. His co-workers often spent breaks discussing vacations, expensive gadgets, and new vehicles purchased through monthly financing. Michael listened politely, but chose different priorities. Every overtime shift increased his savings instead of funding unnecessary expenses. Quiet sacrifices gradually strengthened the financial foundation he hoped would change his life forever one day. Late one night, while vacuuming an executive office, Michael paused before a window overlooking the glowing city skyline. Thousands of buildings stretched toward the horizon, each representing businesses, investments, and opportunities. He promised himself that someday he would own real estate instead of simply cleaning offices inside someone else's buildings every evening. Weekends became opportunities for learning rather than entertainment. Michael attended free real estate seminars, introduced himself to experienced investors, asked thoughtful questions, and filled pages of notes. Although he owned nothing yet, each conversation increased his confidence that disciplined action could eventually outperform luck or natural talent over time. Walking home beneath the quiet morning sky after another overnight shift, Michael realized his circumstances had not changed, but his mindset certainly had. He was no longer simply a janitor earning hourly wages. He had become a student of wealth, preparing patiently for the first investment that would transform everything. Michael transformed his monthly budget with relentless discipline. Every paycheck received a purpose before he spent a single dollar. Rent, groceries, utilities, and savings came first. Restaurants, expensive hobbies, and impulse purchases disappeared completely. Small financial decisions, repeated consistently, slowly created opportunities that once seemed impossible for someone earning hourly wages. He accepted nearly every overtime shift available, often working weekends and holidays while others relaxed. The additional income never increased his lifestyle. Instead, every extra dollar went directly into a separate savings account labeled Future Rental Property. Watching that balance grow became more rewarding than buying anything money could purchase. Instead of upgrading his aging pickup truck, Michael learned basic maintenance from online tutorials and repaired minor problems himself. Friends questioned why he drove such an old vehicle, but he smiled politely. Every avoided car payment meant more capital for investments that would someday generate income instead of expenses and lasting freedom. Every evening during lunch breaks, Michael read another chapter from his growing collection of real estate books. He studied financing, cash flow, property management, market cycles, and negotiation techniques. While others scrolled through social media, he quietly invested in knowledge that no recession or employer could ever take away permanently. One Saturday morning, Michael attended a free seminar hosted by experienced local investors. He listened carefully as speakers explained how rental income, appreciation, and disciplined reinvestment created long-term wealth. Rather than dreaming about instant success, he focused on understanding each practical step required to purchase his first investment property confidently. Michael introduced himself to several investors after the seminar, asking thoughtful questions instead of requesting shortcuts. Most appreciated his curiosity and genuine interest in learning. One experienced landlord encouraged him to remain patient, reminding him that consistency usually outperformed speed when building lasting wealth through real estate over many years. Each month, Michael tracked every expense inside his notebook with remarkable precision. Coffee, gasoline, groceries, utilities, and unexpected repairs were carefully recorded. Reviewing those numbers helped him eliminate waste without feeling deprived. His financial discipline became a daily habit rather than a temporary challenge motivated by excitement or emotion. After nearly 3 years of disciplined saving, Michael finally reached his down payment goal. Looking at the growing balance brought quiet satisfaction instead of celebration. The money represented thousands of small sacrifices, overtime hours, and disciplined choices. His first opportunity was finally becoming realistic, rather than simply an inspiring dream anymore. Armed with savings, financial knowledge, and growing confidence, Michael contacted a local real estate agent specializing in investment properties. Together, they toured modest homes, duplexes, and small rentals across nearby neighborhoods. Michael refused to rush, believing the right property deserved careful evaluation instead of emotional decision-making under pressure from anyone. Standing outside a modest duplex for the first time, Michael imagined families living comfortably while rental income slowly built his future. It wasn't the biggest property or the nicest neighborhood, but it represented something far greater. Years of quiet preparation had finally brought him to the doorway of opportunity. After touring several disappointing properties, Michael returned to the modest duplex that had first captured his attention. It needed cosmetic repairs, but had solid construction, a safe neighborhood, and strong rental demand. He carefully reviewed every number again, convinced this opportunity matched both his budget and long-term investment strategy perfectly. Michael met with his lender, carrying organized financial records, savings statements, and employment history. Years of careful preparation impressed the loan officer. After reviewing the application, the lender approved financing. Michael left the office smiling quietly, knowing disciplined planning had opened a door that once seemed impossibly distant for him. Closing day arrived without celebration or fanfare. Michael signed the final documents, accepted the keys, and stepped outside holding them tightly. He had officially become a property owner. Years of overtime, budgeting, and studying had finally produced something real. His very first rental property, and an entirely new beginning ahead. The duplex needed fresh paint, updated flooring, repaired cabinets, and extensive cleaning before welcoming tenants. After completing overnight janitor shifts, Michael spent every afternoon renovating the property himself. Progress felt slow, but each completed task increased both the property's value and his confidence as a first-time real estate investor steadily. Michael watched countless instructional videos and borrowed renovation books from the library before attempting unfamiliar repairs. Mistakes happened, but each challenge became another lesson. Instead of paying others whenever possible, he invested time learning valuable skills that reduced expenses and strengthened his ability to manage future properties independently with confidence. Week after week, the duplex slowly transformed. Fresh, neutral paint brightened every room, modern light fixtures replaced outdated ones, and carefully maintained landscaping improved the property's appearance. Neighbors began complimenting the renovations, encouraging Michael to keep moving forward despite the long hours and physically demanding work every single day. When renovations were complete, Michael carefully created a rental listing with clear photographs, honest descriptions, and competitive pricing. Soon, interested families began scheduling property tours. Rather than rushing to fill vacancies, he patiently screened every applicant, believing trustworthy tenants were just as valuable as the property itself over time. After thorough background checks and thoughtful conversations, Michael selected a responsible family who appreciated the clean, well-maintained home. Watching them move into the duplex filled him with quiet pride. Providing safe housing mattered as much as earning rental income, reinforcing his commitment to becoming a responsible landlord for years ahead. At the beginning of the following month, Michael received his very first rental payment. He stared silently at the deposit confirmation, realizing money had arrived without trading additional hours for wages. Although modest, the cash flow represented freedom, proving assets could eventually work alongside him instead of replacing only physical labor. That evening, Michael opened his notebook and carefully crossed out one goal: buy one rental property. Beneath it, he wrote another: own 10 properties. The dream had grown larger, yet his strategy remained unchanged: save consistently, reinvest patiently, keep learning, and allow time to multiply disciplined decisions into lasting wealth. 6 months after purchasing the duplex, Michael reviewed his finances with quiet satisfaction. Rental income consistently covered expenses while leaving a modest monthly profit. Rather than spending the extra money, he transferred every dollar into his investment savings account. Small victories were beginning to create powerful financial momentum for future opportunities. Michael continued working the night shift as a janitor, arriving on time every evening with the same professionalism as before. None of his co-workers realized he now owned rental property. He preferred keeping his investments private, believing financial success required discipline, not attention, recognition, or public admiration from others around him. One afternoon, a tenant called about a leaking kitchen faucet. Instead of viewing the repair as an inconvenience, Michael responded promptly with his toolbox. Solving problems quickly built trust with residents while protecting his investment. Responsible property ownership, he realized, meant serving people as much as earning monthly rental income. Michael carefully tracked every repair, rental payment, maintenance expense, and improvement inside detailed spreadsheets. Understanding his numbers allowed him to make better decisions without relying on guesswork. Financial discipline transformed simple records into valuable business intelligence, preparing him for managing additional properties with confidence and efficiency in future years ahead. As property values gradually increased, Michael met regularly with his real estate agent to explore new investment opportunities. They toured affordable single-family homes and small duplexes across neighboring communities. Although tempted by several listings, Michael refused to overpay, choosing patience over emotional excitement every single time without exception. After another year of saving and steady rental income, Michael purchased his second investment property, a modest single-family home requiring light cosmetic renovations. Standing outside with another set of keys, he recognized the pattern repeating itself. Discipline, patience, and consistency were quietly becoming the foundation of lasting wealth for him. Managing 2 properties demanded more organization, but Michael embraced the challenge. He created maintenance schedules, organized financial documents, and developed reliable systems for communicating with tenants. Every improvement reduced future stress, proving that successful investing depended as much on preparation as purchasing properties at reasonable prices and managing expectations. Friends often wondered why Michael still accepted overtime shifts despite owning rental properties. They assumed investing should immediately replace his regular income. Michael simply smiled and continued working. He understood that long-term wealth required allowing investments to grow patiently rather than withdrawing profits too early for unnecessary lifestyle upgrades later. Within several years, Michael owned 4 rental properties, producing reliable monthly cash flow. The additional income strengthened his financial security while increasing opportunities for future purchases. Although his portfolio remained small compared with experienced investors, each property represented another carefully placed brick in a steadily growing foundation of financial independence. Walking into the office for another overnight janitor shift, Michael carried the same mop and cleaning supplies he always had. Nothing about his appearance suggested growing wealth. Yet quietly, behind the scenes, disciplined investing had begun transforming his future. 1 property, 1 paycheck, and 1 smart decision at a time. As Michael's rental income steadily increased, he resisted the temptation to celebrate with expensive purchases. While others upgraded homes, cars, and vacations after earning more money, he quietly reinvested every available dollar. His wealth grew invisibly because he focused on buying assets instead of collecting impressive possessions for appearances. Years of disciplined saving and consistent rental income allowed Michael to purchase his first small apartment building. Standing before the 8-unit property, he felt grateful rather than overwhelmed. Every previous investment had prepared him for this opportunity, proving that larger achievements often begin with mastering smaller responsibilities patiently over time. Managing multiple tenants required stronger leadership than ever before. Michael developed maintenance schedules, hired trusted local contractors, and responded quickly whenever residents needed assistance. His reputation for honesty, fairness, and reliability spread throughout the community, attracting quality tenants who respected both the property and their landlord equally every year. Instead of collecting profits, Michael directed nearly every dollar toward reducing debt and saving for additional investments. Friends questioned why he never rewarded himself after reaching important milestones. Michael understood that temporary sacrifices today could create permanent financial freedom tomorrow, making delayed gratification one of his greatest competitive advantages in life. One rainy evening, Michael reviewed years of handwritten financial records inside his notebook. Every saved dollar, every renovation, every rental payment, and every property purchase told the story of consistent effort. Success had never arrived through one dramatic moment. It had quietly accumulated through thousands of disciplined daily decisions over decades. The apartment building generated stronger cash flow than Michael had ever experienced. Rather than changing his lifestyle, he carefully studied new markets, attended investment conferences, and expanded his knowledge of commercial real estate. Education remained one of his highest priorities because better decisions often produced greater returns than harder work alone. Michael began purchasing additional duplexes and small apartment buildings across growing neighborhoods with strong employment opportunities and increasing demand for rental housing. Every acquisition followed the same disciplined process: careful research, conservative financing, thorough inspections, realistic budgeting, and long-term planning. His investment strategy never depended on luck or speculation alone. Although his portfolio continued expanding, Michael still arrived at work wearing the same blue janitor uniform each evening. Executives politely greeted him without realizing he owned multiple investment properties throughout the city. His greatest satisfaction came from financial security itself, not from impressing strangers with visible signs of wealth or success. By the end of another productive year, Michael owned several houses, duplexes, and apartment buildings, producing dependable monthly income. The growing portfolio demanded greater organization, but strong systems kept everything running smoothly. Quiet discipline had evolved into a thriving business without attracting unnecessary attention from the outside world or coworkers. Late one evening, while mopping the polished floor outside an executive office, Michael glanced through the window toward the illuminated city skyline. Years earlier, he had dreamed of owning real estate. Now that dream was becoming reality, reminding him that extraordinary wealth often grows quietly, one disciplined decision at a time. After more than 15 years of disciplined investing, Michael quietly crossed an incredible financial milestone. His net worth exceeded $1 million, yet nothing about his daily routine changed. He still woke early, worked hard, and viewed wealth as a tool for freedom rather than a reason for showing off publicly. Michael continued driving the same aging pickup truck he had owned for years. Although he could easily afford something newer, the dependable vehicle reminded him of his journey. Every unnecessary expense avoided became additional capital invested into appreciating assets that strengthened his financial future instead of reducing it through depreciation alone. Co-workers often assumed Michael struggled financially because of his simple clothes and modest lifestyle. They occasionally offered sympathetic advice about finding higher-paying work. Michael appreciated their kindness, but never corrected their assumptions. He believed true wealth required no explanation, allowing his investments to speak far louder than appearances ever could. During lunch breaks, Michael quietly reviewed property reports instead of browsing entertainment on his phone. Occupancy rates, maintenance schedules, renovation budgets, and rental income filled his notebook. Managing investments had become another daily habit, proving successful portfolios required consistent attention long after purchasing the first property and achieving early success. One weekend, Michael attended the closing for another apartment building before beginning his evening janitor shift. By sunset, he was reviewing legal documents with attorneys. By midnight, he was polishing office floors. His remarkable ability to balance both worlds reflected humility, discipline, and unwavering commitment to long-term goals every single day. As his portfolio expanded, Michael hired professional property managers to oversee daily operations. Delegating routine responsibilities allowed him to focus on evaluating future investments and improving existing properties. Building reliable systems taught him that successful businesses grow through teamwork, organization, and thoughtful leadership rather than constant personal supervision alone every day. Michael never forgot how difficult his own journey had been. Whenever maintenance workers, custodians, or security guards asked about money, he gladly shared budgeting tips and investment principles. Instead of discussing luxury lifestyles, he encouraged them to master small financial habits capable of transforming their futures through patience and consistency. His evenings remained remarkably familiar despite growing wealth. Michael unlocked the service closet, prepared his cleaning supplies, and greeted coworkers with the same friendly smile. Few realized they were speaking with a successful real estate investor. He valued honest work because it reminded him where his extraordinary journey had first begun. One evening, while cleaning an executive conference room, Michael noticed framed photographs celebrating corporate achievements. Instead of comparing himself with others, he reflected on his own quiet victories. His greatest accomplishment wasn't becoming wealthy. It was developing the discipline, patience, and character that wealth could never purchase or replace completely. Driving home beneath the early morning sunrise, Michael smiled as he considered the years behind him. The janitor many people overlooked had quietly built a life of financial independence without chasing attention. His greatest investment had never been real estate alone. It had been the habits that made everything else possible. More than 20 years after buying his first duplex, Michael reviewed a portfolio that had grown far beyond his earliest expectations. Houses, duplexes, and apartment buildings generated reliable income every month. Patient reinvestment had transformed modest beginnings into a thriving real estate business built without shortcuts, speculation, or unnecessary financial risk. Instead of chasing luxury neighborhoods, Michael continued investing in communities with strong job growth, good schools, and increasing rental demand. He believed successful investing depended more on purchasing quality properties at fair prices than impressing others with expensive locations or fashionable developments that lacked solid financial fundamentals entirely. Professional property managers now handled daily operations across Michael's growing portfolio, allowing him to focus on acquisitions and long-term planning. Weekly meetings reviewed maintenance reports, occupancy levels, renovation projects, and financial performance. Strong systems kept every property operating efficiently while preserving the high standards tenants had come to expect consistently. Michael quietly purchased another apartment complex after months of careful research and negotiation. Standing outside the completed acquisition, he felt the same gratitude he experienced buying his first duplex years earlier. Success had never reduced his appreciation because every investment still represented responsibility, opportunity, and trust from the families living there. His accountant presented updated financial statements showing the portfolio's estimated market value approaching $10 million. Michael nodded thoughtfully before returning to discussions about maintenance budgets and tenant satisfaction. Impressive numbers mattered, but protecting the quality of his properties remained more important than celebrating impressive financial milestones or public recognition. Walking through one apartment community, Michael greeted residents by name whenever possible. Children played safely on clean sidewalks, while families enjoyed beautifully maintained courtyards. Seeing thriving neighborhoods brought deeper satisfaction than any balance sheet because his investments had become places where people built meaningful lives together every single day. Banks regularly offered Michael financing for larger commercial projects because of his proven track record and conservative financial management. Unlike earlier years, opportunities now searched for him. Nevertheless, he evaluated every proposal carefully, refusing to compromise his disciplined investment principles simply because greater resources had become available over time. Although newspapers occasionally featured successful local investors, Michael preferred remaining anonymous. He declined interviews, avoided social media attention, and rarely discussed his portfolio publicly. Privacy allowed him to concentrate on meaningful work instead of protecting an image, reminding himself that quiet progress often produced the strongest long-term results consistently. One peaceful evening, Michael reviewed the estimated value of every property inside his familiar leather notebook. Together, the portfolio had officially surpassed $10 million. He closed the notebook gently, feeling thankful rather than triumphant. Years of ordinary decisions had quietly produced an extraordinary financial outcome few people ever imagined possible. Driving to another overnight janitor shift beneath the evening sky, Michael reflected on how little his daily routine had changed despite extraordinary success. The world still saw a humble custodian. Only he understood that discipline, patience, and consistency had quietly transformed an ordinary paycheck into lasting financial freedom and remarkable wealth. One ordinary Tuesday morning, Michael requested a few vacation days from his supervisor. He explained only that he had important personal business to handle. Nobody questioned the quiet janitor's request, assuming he needed time for family matters. In reality, Michael was preparing to close on another commercial property acquisition nearby. Dressed in a simple navy blazer instead of his blue janitor uniform, Michael attended the closing with attorneys, bankers, brokers, and property managers. As documents were signed, ownership officially transferred. Another apartment building quietly joined his growing portfolio, adding long-term value through careful planning rather than dramatic financial risk or speculation. Leaving the title office, Michael unexpectedly encountered one of the company's executives attending a nearby business meeting. The executive recognized the familiar janitor and looked confused. Seeing Michael surrounded by real estate professionals and holding commercial property documents raised questions that neither man had anticipated answering that afternoon together. The executive politely asked whether Michael was helping clean the building or delivering documents. Michael smiled warmly before explaining he had just completed the purchase of another apartment property. For several silent seconds, the executive struggled to process the unexpected answer, realizing appearances had hidden an extraordinary story for many years. News traveled surprisingly fast throughout the office building. Employees whispered in hallways, wondering whether the unbelievable story could possibly be true. Some assumed it was an exaggerated rumor until public property records confirmed Michael's ownership of numerous rental houses, duplexes, and apartment buildings across the city and surrounding communities together. Co-workers approached Michael respectfully during lunch breaks, asking how a janitor had quietly built such remarkable wealth. Instead of discussing impressive numbers, Michael explained simple principles: live below your means, save consistently, invest patiently, keep learning, and never underestimate the power of small disciplined decisions repeated over many years faithfully. Many employees admitted they had always judged Michael by his uniform instead of his character. They apologized for assuming financial success always looked expensive. Michael responded kindly, reminding them that wealth often grows quietly, while appearances can easily create misleading impressions about another person's circumstances or long-term achievements in life. The company invited Michael to speak during an employee financial wellness event. Standing before co-workers who once overlooked him, he shared practical lessons about budgeting, investing, patience, and delayed gratification. His story inspired listeners because it proved ordinary workers could build extraordinary futures through consistent action rather than extraordinary salaries alone. After the presentation ended, several younger employees gathered around Michael with notebooks filled with questions. They wanted to understand rental properties, saving strategies, and financial discipline. Michael patiently answered each question, realizing the greatest return on his journey might be helping others believe their own futures could change completely too. That evening, Michael returned to his familiar janitor shift exactly as always. He pushed his cleaning cart through quiet hallways while smiling to himself. Although co-workers finally knew his secret, nothing about his purpose had changed. True success, he believed, was measured by character, not recognition or public admiration alone. Michael realized that financial success meant little if its lessons remained hidden. Instead of retiring quietly, he volunteered to mentor custodians, warehouse workers, delivery drivers, and other hourly employees. He wanted ordinary people to understand that consistent investing, not extraordinary income, had transformed his life over many years completely. Every Saturday morning, Michael hosted free financial workshops at the local community center. Participants learned budgeting, emergency savings, debt management, rental property basics, and long-term investing. He avoided complicated financial jargon, believing simple ideas explained clearly could change more lives than impressive theories. Few people truly understood completely. One young janitor admitted he believed investing was only for wealthy people. Michael smiled and opened his old notebook, showing the original savings plan that began with small weekly deposits. The worn pages proved that meaningful financial progress often starts long before impressive account balances or investment portfolios become visible. Michael encouraged every student to create a written financial goal before chasing larger dreams. Whether saving $1,000 or purchasing a first rental property, he believed written goals created accountability. Small achievements built confidence, and confidence inspired greater action toward long-term financial independence through consistent habits and patient decision-making. Months later, one workshop participant proudly told Michael she had eliminated all credit card debt and started saving for a down payment. Michael congratulated her warmly, reminding everyone that becoming financially stronger was never about comparing progress with others. It was about improving one disciplined decision at a time every day. Several former students eventually purchased their own rental properties and eagerly shared updates with Michael. Watching their confidence grow brought him immense satisfaction. Their success reminded him that wealth multiplied far beyond money whenever knowledge, encouragement, and opportunity were shared generously with people willing to learn and take responsible action. Michael never presented himself as a financial genius. Instead, he described himself as an ordinary worker who simply refused to stop learning. His honesty resonated deeply because people recognized themselves in his story. They realized extraordinary results could emerge from ordinary habits practiced consistently over many patient years together. During one workshop, Michael placed his old janitor uniform beside the brass key from his first duplex. He explained that neither object represented embarrassment. Together, they symbolized honest work and disciplined investing, reminding everyone that success grows from respecting humble beginnings instead of trying to escape them or hide them. As years passed, Michael's workshops expanded into neighboring communities. Hundreds of people attended, each hoping to improve their financial future. Rather than promising quick riches, he consistently taught budgeting, patience, education, and responsible investing. His message remained unchanged because timeless principles rarely required fashionable updates or complicated strategies ever. Walking home after another workshop, Michael reflected on the lives he had witnessed changing. Helping others believe in their own potential brought greater fulfillment than purchasing another building. His greatest legacy, he realized, would never be measured only by property values, but by the opportunities he inspired for countless families. One peaceful morning, Michael visited the small apartment where he had once struggled to balance rent, groceries, and monthly bills. Standing quietly outside the familiar building, he smiled with gratitude. The place had never represented failure. Instead, it reminded him that every meaningful journey begins with humble circumstances and hope. Back home, Michael opened the same worn notebook he had carried for decades. The first page still read, "Buy one rental property." Every completed goal beneath it reflected years of steady discipline rather than dramatic breakthroughs. Those handwritten pages told a richer story than any luxury possession ever possibly could have. Looking through old photographs, Michael saw images of long nights renovating his first duplex after exhausting janitor shifts. He remembered scraped hands, sleepless mornings, and constant uncertainty. Success had never erased those difficult memories. Instead, it made every sacrifice feel worthwhile, because each challenge shaped the investor he eventually became. One afternoon, Michael walked through several apartment communities he now owned. Children laughed on playgrounds, neighbors greeted one another, and beautifully maintained buildings reflected years of careful stewardship. Watching families enjoy safe, comfortable homes reminded him that responsible investing created lasting value, extending far beyond financial returns and personal wealth. Financial reports now estimated Michael's real estate portfolio at more than $10 million. Instead of celebrating the impressive number, he focused on maintaining quality properties, supporting dependable employees, and serving loyal tenants. Wealth had become a responsibility requiring wisdom, integrity, and continuous care rather than personal recognition or applause. Driving home in his familiar aging pickup truck, Michael passed expensive sports cars and luxury dealerships without hesitation. His greatest satisfaction came from financial freedom, not material status. Years earlier, he had learned that buying assets created choices, while chasing appearances often delayed the independence he valued most throughout his remarkable journey. One evening, Michael quietly cleaned an executive office for what would become one of his final janitor shifts. As he finished, he looked across the glowing city skyline with deep appreciation. The building where he once dreamed about wealth had become the place that inspired his extraordinary transformation through unwavering discipline. One evening, Michael quietly cleaned an executive office for what would become one of his final janitor shifts. As he finished, he looked across the glowing city skyline with deep appreciation. The building where he once dreamed about wealth had become the place that inspired his extraordinary transformation through unwavering discipline. Before leaving, Michael carefully placed his janitor badge inside the same notebook that held his first investment goal. The badge represented honest work. The notebook represented disciplined vision. Together, they reminded him that success is built by respecting every chapter of the journey, never just celebrating the destination or achievement. He cleaned offices while quietly building a $10 million real estate portfolio. Wealth didn't change who he was. It revealed who he had always been. Your future isn't determined by your job today, but by the disciplined choices you begin making today.